Welcome to another OCD Recovery Instagram Live. I'll be just doing a quick Q&A on here today. So any questions you want to ask relating to OCD, send them across and I will cover those now. What else did I want to speak about before anyone asks any questions? I don't think I'll talk about politics or protests or anything like that because it's kind of a very difficult subject at the moment not that I have any problem speaking about it. I have spoken about it on my Instagram about it in detail in relation to the rational side of things and how that works. But at the same time, I think it's not I've always taken the position with everything I do to kind of to keep out of politics because I think it creates a lot of divide. I know this is different; it's a social issue, and I know that a lot of activists will say that staying silent is a problem. But if you have a look at my post talking about the rational side of that and why people don't have to feel bad about staying silent and so on, I think that pretty much explains my points on that. Let's have a look at some of these questions and get started with those. Can someone make it worse? Don't really understand that question. Yeah, you're going to have to explain that in a bit more detail. Can someone make it worse? Do you mean anxiety, OCD? Can someone make your OCD or anxiety worse? No, none of that can make your anxiety worse. All that can happen is you can believe something more or more irrationally. It can make you more anxious and so on. That's the only thing that could be the problem there. I was doing okay, and then I had a dream relating to my OCD. I'm so scared. I don't want to go back to how I was before. That's the classic one, basically. It's the fear of it's the fear of fear. It's fear of getting worse, fear of being stuck like you were before, or something like that. Because we all remember what it was like to feel really anxious, really bad in the past. So we're scared of feeling like that again. It's very common. I don't fear being anxious again like I was. If it happens, what's going to happen? I'll lie down here on this couch, feel anxious, might have stomachache, might have acid reflux, might have trouble sleeping. Might be difficult at times. It might be problems. Maybe what else could happen? I'm trying to think what other things could happen that would be a problem. Heart palpitations, maybe difficult to exercise. Maybe difficult to do things I want to do, be as happy and enjoy things as much as I like to now when I'm not anxious. Those kinds of things. But do I fear it where it's destroying my life? Absolutely not. Does it give me any anxiety at all? Absolutely not. Would it be frustrating? Would it be challenging? Yeah, it'd be frustrating, it'd be challenging. But does it warrant chronic, long-term anxiety because of it? No. Is it easy to get into that cycle? Very much so. Because it's something that's scary. It's one of the scary things that we went through in our lives. We remember how disruptive it is to enjoying our lives. So we kind of watch out for it with one eye constantly looking at OCD internally. Taking our temperature in our head with like an imaginary thermometer. That's very much what we do. Our anxiety temperature, constantly doing that to check how anxious we are. Okay, let's have a look here. Need to get one of those. Someone sent me the other day, said, Rob, you need to get one of those arm things that hold the phone. I really do. Because holding phones for Instagram Lives, but and then doing calls and stuff, you do feel it, and I do need to get that. What if ERP is not possible with a theme? Well, there is no themes that ERP isn't possible. You just have to adapt the ERP. But what happens is people often don't know how to adapt it. But actually, it's very you once you adapt it, you can You can get into any theme. People think often existential or a sensory motor and things like that are very difficult to adapt to expose to, but they're not. They just need a bit of thinking through to do. More tricky as compared to like contamination OCD, but definitely doable. What is unconditional self-acceptance? I see two people talking about it, how important it is. Good thing to start is just watch a video by the founder of CBT, Albert Ellis, on YouTube, talking about unconditional self-acceptance. That will explain it. And then one of the books on the reading list, preferably the first one, How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable About Anything, by him, is a good place to start. Tips for sensory motor OCD. I've got a sensory motor OCD video on YouTube, so if you watch that, that covers that in detail. How much do you think OCD affects the life of people around people with OCD? A lot. You know, it affects. It's not just your life that's being affected. It's them, because they're around you. Family worry for you, for your health. Your partners feel like maybe you're vacant and not there. They want connection with you. They want you to be feeling better because they love you, same as all your other loved ones. So people, it's not just you that it impacts everyone around you, friends and so on, everyone. Red meat and dairy make your anxiety OCD worse. I wouldn't be too concerned about diet changes. You'll hear people saying that diet changes cured them and saved their life. I've never seen a case myself. I can see it can have some impact, something like that, but you're not going to get someone who's got chronic, long-term, severe POCD, for example, going on a all meat or no meat diet and suddenly feeling better. I've never seen that in my life. Will meditating help? Can help take the edge off, create distance between your thinking and thoughts. Very helpful for that. Getting under OCD? No. You've got to get under the fears and get a much better understanding of acceptance to do that. You're not gonna do that with meditation alone. If OCD is triggered by someone else's presence, is it a fair point to cut them off? Like they're the reason for your relationship OCD? Absolutely not. That's what you don't want to do. That's avoidance. That's trying to get out of the situation. Then OCD is just going to keep moving, and then you'll just end up breaking up with everyone and avoiding everything. I mean, OCD wants to leave you just sort of in your house, stuck and not going out as a sort of last place resort and not having a relationship. It wants to suck everything away. So you don't want to do that. You want to live your life, and you don't want to be paying. You don't want to be adjusting your life around OCD. You want to be doing the opposite. Feel like I'm in hell with OCD. How do I feel comfortable with that? We've got to bring down the fear. For you at the moment, you're very scared, so we need to bring the fear down. So we need to look at what you're scared of and get under that so that you can accept the feelings more and bring those down. My psychiatrist says I don't have OCD, but I can't touch anything because I think it's contaminated and I see the death of my family, which is terrifying. Well, it's very difficult to have to understand a situation like that without context to it. So I would kind of I can't answer that question just in Instagram Live like this. We're starting to feel better about tachycardia episodes. I had those episodes with heartbeats constantly, all the time. Fast beats, slow beats. Fast beats, slow beats, like a machine gun going off in my chest, all different types of beats that were sort of all over the place. Soft beats, harder beats, sudden beats, everything. And it's when I got to a point where I just thought, well, you know what, even if I die, from this, and I have a heart attack, so be it. I can't run from this my whole life. I've got to live my life. So everything that I do and how I live, it's from a position of accepting, in everything. Like you've got to you know, I embrace that. Yeah, okay, I might die of a heart attack or some other health condition. Maybe anxiety has caused me a lot of problems over the years that have led to me getting some physical health problems or something that I don't know about, cancer or something. I doubt it. Stress and cancer is not really linked like that. It tends to be linked through drinking and smoking and so on, and unhealthy eating that comes about from the stress rather than the stress itself and the anxiety. But yeah, so I don't know. Potentially, maybe. But I accept that. I don't know. None of us know when we're going to die. None of us know what's going to happen. So we need to become more accepting of that. That's the key. Once you become more accepting of that, give up control of that, and so on. It gets under there. I think acceptance is I'm going to do a video talking all about exactly what acceptance is, explaining it in detail, because I think that's very, very important. Because what happens is you have a situation whereby with OCD, you've become in this state of wanting to internally control everything for so long. You become so obsessed with internal control all the time that it becomes your state of being, just this internal fighting and controlling. Acceptance is the opposite. And Claire Weeks, one of the anxiety pioneers, talks about that very well, where she says, it's a kind of learnt state that you're in. That's very true. And so when you become accepting, everything just becomes different. Like, say, for example, you're someone who's very, very rigid about everything. Someone says, do you want to go for dinner? No, I don't want to go there. I want to go somewhere else. And then, like, I'll be there, and I'll be there at this time. And then, oh, no, they've brought the wrong food. No, they've done this or whatever. It's just very rigid in every single way. You can feel that. I'm very accepting a lot of everything. Not everything. I've got a pretty... my life is pretty routine because of how I work and stuff, so it's got to be pretty disciplined. But I'm accepting of things, like I don't that I wouldn't have I would have had a problem with in the past until I had seen this, till I saw that how I needed to sort of internally relax more and give up control. So it's very little things that get me angry, whereas in the past I used to get very angry very quickly. So all those kind of things, it just becomes a way of being, and it becomes felt. So at first, acceptance and understanding acceptance is the thinking we do to learn and change our thinking to become more accepting. And then what happens is we become more accepting. It becomes a way of feeling. Our thinking then results in our emotional state, then results in how we feel, and then that gradually more and more becomes how we are, and that's how we then operate. So accepting then becomes a sort of generally a feeling. It's a being. It's how we experience life. And that's what happens, And I think that's very important, because people often come to me and they say, Rob, I need to accept. I need to get it like this and have it all sorted. And it's not that. It's not a doing. It's not that attitude where I've got to get all these boxes ticked and nail down unconditional self-acceptance like a blueprint. That's not how it works. It doesn't work like that. We would like it to work like that. And Einstein's got a quote about that, saying like the thinking that got us into the problem isn't the same thinking that's going to get us out of the problem, and it's very relative to that particular point that I'm making there. Okay, let's have a look at these. Is anxiety completely curable? You're always going to have anxiety because it's designed to save your life. So you're never going to get rid of anxiety in totality, and you don't want to, because you don't want to just walk off a cliff, for example, by mistake. So anxiety has got its function. Is it normal for women to regress during a certain hormonal time of the month? Yes, for women at that time of the month, they will notice that often OCD will get worse and they will spike at that point. That's okay. That does happen, and it's about being aware of that and not scared of that and allowing that to happen, and realizing that it's not all the time, and it's just a part of the process that you're gonna have to go through. But yes, it does often affect people's mood in relation to anxiety. Is it a problem to get into a relationship? Well, yes, live life as normal. Don't avoid things. If you want to have a relationship, have a relationship. If you don't want to have a relationship, don't have a relationship. But live life as if you don't have OCD is usually my sort of motto. I noticed there is an extension OCD video on your YouTube channel which mentions there will be a part 2 in more depth. Wondering if that is in the works. Yes, absolutely. I will be doing a lot more on existential because it's a topic, it's one that I suffered from for a long time, and I want to cover a lot more on it. So yes, I will definitely do that. I will cover a lot more on that. I love making these YouTube videos, and my plan is to sort of build that YouTube channel up into sort of having sort of 400 or 500 videos covering loads of aspects of OCD, so you can go in and see all the sections that relate to you, because I'm really all about getting as much free content out there for OCD as possible, because for far too long people have sort of guarded it away, and it's a sort of a paid service, and only then can you see things. And although what I do obviously in form of coaching is a paid service, the free content for all the people that can't afford it I think is very important, so that people have got the best chances of recovery out there who can't. And I think that's really important. And I think the videos will be a great way to do that, because YouTube's probably one of the most easily accessible things. Spotify podcast will be another good step to do, all talking about OCD and anxiety, which I'll definitely be looking to do that. What other things that I wanted to cover there? Yeah, YouTube, Facebook Watch. Don't forget our Facebook Watch page. So on our Facebook page, if you go to videos and you go into the videos section, you can see all the video content that's been recorded there. The same on Instagram, Instagram TV, you can see all of that. What other things? I think we need to produce a lot more articles breaking down lots of things in relation to acceptance and all the different themes. About the journey, about unconditional self-acceptance, just in general about OCD, just covering all the main sections. I think I'd like to do a lot more on that. I think that's very important part of the process for people on the journey to getting better from OCD and panic disorder and so on. I'd like to cover more on panic disorder. I'd like to cover more on generalized anxiety disorder. I think they need a lot more work and a lot more coverage. Especially GAD is one of those ones that gets nothing. If you think OCD is bad at getting coverage, GAD is diabolical. You barely find anything on the subject. It's not good at all. That there needs to be a huge amount of awareness done on generalized anxiety disorder. Far too often it's passed off as just being generally anxious in general about certain things. Whereas it doesn't get covered in its true form of sort of free-floating anxiety, it used to be called, where it's a sort of a chronic sensation of anxiety that's accompanied with stronger physical symptoms that aren't always. People often don't realise how strong they are and disabling. So I think that's very important, and they can often not find a reason why they're still anxious or have any understanding of how the cycle happened, how it operates and what's contributing towards it. Like, for example, fear is a big contributor, as well as control and not wanting to let go of that internal control and so on. So I want to cover a lot on that too. Does OCD make constipation worse? OCD can affect bowel movements, can affect stomach. That's because, obviously, say your bicep, for example, it's not very responsive to anxiety cues. You're not going to have a bicep suddenly go like that because of anxiety, because it's not sensitive to the anxiety stimulation. Whereas the stomach is designed to be like that because it's stimulated by us being hungry and so on, and it has to react to those stimulations. So because it has to react to that, it has to react through anxiety too. And that's why you won't get that sensation so much in the arm. So yeah, you're going to have those problems with stomach. As you get under your anxiety, they will release. And there's so many various ranges of things that it can affect in relating to stomachs and in relation to bowel movements and so on. You will often be going back and forth to the doctor thinking something's seriously wrong with you, when anxiety is the kind of culprit that's behind it, as per usual. You sound like Ricky Gervais. Oh my God. I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or an insult. Yesterday you commented on my Facebook page about thinking I was in recovery. Wonder if you could explain more about getting under the fear of fear. Well, fear of fear is, most of this stuff is to do with people are scared of being scared. So scared of being stuck, scared forever. That's the problem. Because we imagine that fear is a case of us being... we associate fear with not being happy and sort of being stuck for forever in a certain way, and that destroying our happiness and feeling uncomfortable and these kinds of things. Whereas actually, we can actually do quite a lot with fear. I mean, I've had some of my most scared moments still gone out, still gone on dates, still done loads of things, and so you can still do it anxious. That's why that phrase of mine that I often say on here about bringing it for the ride is so key. It's, you've got to do that, because if you're trying to wait for anxiety and OCD to be gone before you start living your life, you miss out on your life. So you've got to do that and then work to get better as you go along. And then it's mainly when people come in the door to me, I want to get them so that it's down quite a bit, their anxiety, so they can start functioning and living life. When it's full throttle, it can be very challenging, but you've got to, once you actually get going a bit, you've got to live your life. You don't want to be waiting till anxiety is gone. Hypnotherapy for OCD, not a fan. I've never seen any really successful things done for it at all. It's not really recommended, hypnotherapy for OCD. I feel like I need to be certain about anything before, because I can't move on. Well, OCD is an addiction, like an addiction to certainty. It's not an addiction to certainty, that's sort of what it feels like a bit. So if you're waiting for OCD for everything to be certain, again, you'll be missing out on your life, because you're never going to get certainty, because like Voltaire said, certainty is absurd. Acceptance doesn't mean agreement. Please elaborate. Well, I'll tell you why that is, because if acceptance meant agreement, I accept that I could get cancer. I don't want it. And there's a good example of that. I can accept I could get cancer, but I don't want it. Okay? I accept that I could get angry and maybe punch someone, but I don't want to do that. Hopefully I don't. But maybe I could, because I'm a human and it's possible. Does medication cure OCD permanently? No, OCD doesn't cure things permanently. Medications are sort of like a kind of it's kind of like it takes the edge off whatever cocktail of meds you're taking, but it won't cure it. For some people, it have really good effects. For some people, it won't. It's just a thing that is going to be different for different people. So I think you've got to stop looking at it as sort of wonder drug, as some kind of like elixir of life that's going to fix everything. Forget that. It's not that. It's not going to do that, but it will help take the edge off and can make things really manageable for you whilst you're working through a difficult time of trying to recover. ACT focuses more on accepting the thoughts and feelings. Unconditional self-acceptance gets under demonstrating through science and evidence that you can accept yourself and separate the value of the human from the behaviors that it's engaging in. And that's the main difference. I did a lot of ACT stuff before I came on to unconditional self-acceptance, and it never got fully under it. So part of the process, some very important tools that are very helpful for OCD recovery, but certainly unconditional self-acceptance was one of the game changers for me. How often do you go live? Well, it depends. I do it randomly. I try and, what I do, I love what I do for work, and I try and do it so it's fun for me as well. And so I come on here when I've got time to do them. Obviously, I work a lot, extremely a lot. So I try and do it at different times. Sometimes I come on and do short ones. Today's obviously a bit longer than that. So I'd like to come on and do more of them like I want to do with the videos. But yeah, it's just a sort of random basis. I don't really sort of say, okay, I'm going to have one at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. They're always saved up in here and then put onto YouTube. Just so that I've got the freedom of doing them when I want and enjoy them as a process. And I think that's important, you know, for the sort of creative element of what I do. And I like to have the sort of freedom to do it when I like, and just sort of from a passionate position of doing them. I think that's important. That's why, you know, I just sort of come on here, record them in the living room, and do them like that. I don't think, okay, right, go and set up and sit in a table, put a shirt on, look smart, follow a list of bullet points that you want to cover today and stuff. I do it very, you know, sort of just from a sort of a random position, so it's sort of authentic and a real sort of talk discussion about OCD. Fear makes me think that this one's real. It's always going to make you think it's real. It's always going to make you think this one's the real one, this one's the exception, this one's different. Okay, I think that covers pretty much everything that I wanted to discuss on here today. I will see you guys on the next Instagram Live. I'll upload this to YouTube and to Facebook Watch, and I will see you guys then. All right, guys, thanks for asking all the different questions, and hopefully see some of you in the meme and TikTok competition. All right, guys, see you later.